Hello everybody, Sunday Adelaja here. The question of the century, the question for the $1 million question or $1 billion question. Are black African people cursed? That's the series we're doing. Are black people with black skin, are they cursed? Are they under a curse at all? Is there a curse that is pursuing them? So that is the series we are doing. But the topic of today is the curse of Ham or the curse of Canaan. So the topic of today is the curse of Ham or the curse of Canaan. It is very popularly known or said that there is a curse that is called the curse of Ham. Very widely spread. Everybody talks about this curse of Ham. And when people talk about Ham, they are talking about Africans, they are talking about black people. So they call it the curse of Ham. But is there anything like the curse of Ham? Is it really true to talk about the curse of Ham? If you read the Bible carefully, you discover that there is nothing like the curse of Ham. At least in Genesis, there is nothing like the curse of Ham from that particular passage that the Europeans had misinterpreted as the reason why black people are cursed and why they must be traded into the slave trade. When I talk about Europeans, I'm not talking about the Europeans of today. I'm talking about the Europeans like in the 14th century, in the 15th century. But right now, there are still people who still read those literatures and believe them. However, most people in the world, of course, they have moved on. Even most Europeans have moved on. They have realized and discovered the mistake of their forebearers who taught the Bible in such a way as to justify their atrocities in the African continent and thereby twisting the Bible. But there is nothing, remember this for life, for good, there is nothing like the curse of Ham. Nothing like that. Nothing like the curse of Ham. There was never a curse placed on Ham. Ham was never cursed. And I'm going to prove that to you today. There is the curse of Canaan, but not the curse of Ham. And who inherited the land of Canaan? These are the Jews who inherited the land of Canaan. But if they had inherited the land of Africans, then it means that the Africans are the ones that were destroyed. The Africans would have been uprooted from there or destroyed, because for the Jews to inherit that land, they had to destroy most of those nations there. But those are not Africans. Africans were never cursed. But don't just believe my word for it. We are going to go into the Bible today and do the research, and I'm going to show you from the Bible that African people are never cursed. And Ham is not even Africans. Ham is not even talking about Africans. Ham has a little bit of African presence there, but not black African people. I'm going to tell you where we have the black African people in the Bible. Who are the black African people in the Bible? Were they cursed? And who was cursed? And why is it that everybody is connecting Ham to black African people? And the funny thing is, Ham was never even cursed. But before I go to do that, let's go and see a video to prove to you that even white Europeans who started this legend have also had a second thought, and they have started reading their Bible with an open eyes rather than closed eyes. So let's see this video.
black people the result of the curse of Ham? I want to say right off the bat, no, absolutely not. But there's a reason why that question is asked, and that's because people misinterpret Genesis 9. After the flood, Noah and his 3 sons and their wives began to repopulate the earth. We're told that Noah was a man of the soil. In Genesis 9, he planted a vineyard. From that vineyard, he made wine. With that wine, he became drunk, literally asleep in his tent, passed out drunk. We don't know the specifics of what happened, but what we know is that one of Noah's sons did something while he was asleep, shamed him in some way. When Noah awoke, he was aware of that, and he pronounced a curse. He pronounced a curse, not on Ham, though. He pronounced a curse on one of Ham's sons. Ham had 4 sons: Canaan, Put, Mitzrayim, or Egypt, and Cush. The Cushites settled below Egypt, and they are where black Africans descended. However, Noah did not curse the Cushites. Noah cursed Canaan, or Canaanites. And these are the people that we read about in the Old Testament that Israel was commanded to conquer and destroy, which they did in the Old Testament. So the answer is no. And it's a simple understanding of Genesis 9 and Genesis 10, along with a good Bible atlas where you can see where the Cushites descended. Additionally, you can read about Moses. Moses married a Cushite woman, a black woman. Moses' sister, Miriam, Aaron's wife, criticized Moses for his marriage choice. And as a result, God struck her with leprosy. And so, sort of to bring that around the story of Genesis 9, you can see that God punished a woman who was angry that Moses had chosen to marry a Cushite. And so to answer the question, no, but there is some really poor hermeneutics there, poor biblical misunderstandings. And once you read Genesis 9 and 10 clearly, yes, Noah cursed somebody, but it was not the black African descendants of Ham's son Cush.
All right, let's continue the subject, and going to my slides. I want to show you that black, just like the Europeans now, like that American man, he's now confirming exactly what the Bible says. The Bible never said that it is the black people that are cursed, but that's his word, you could say, and that's my word. Okay, so several people are now discovering what is written in the Bible. But let's go to the Bible itself and let the Bible itself be the interpreter of the real historical event that really happened. Are black people cursed? Are black African people cursed? Are we under a curse? Because if you look around right now, you see that the least developed people in the world are maybe not the least developed people, but the least developed continent in the world is the continent where the Africans are living. And then the poorest, the largest number of poor people in the world is with the African people. And you could argue that, okay, you have Indians as well, then you have Chinese, but they are doing better than the Africans right now. So, there are a lot of reasons to believe that the black African people are cursed, or, that something is wrong with them, or that it's whatever people, the doctrine and the philosophy of the cause of harm, that it could be true, but really it's not true. But so let's go to the Bible and let the Bible tell us about that. And one of the reasons I'm going to do this series is to show you some of the great achievements and feats of black people that will really tell you that black people are not cursed. Because people who are cursed don't lead civilization. People who are cursed don't do such great things like black African people have done in history. And I'm going to use this opportunity of this series to show you and open your eyes to all the great things that black people have done. So, the curse of Ham, is it the curse of Ham or the curse of Canaan? Is it the curse of Ham or the curse of Canaan? Well, I've just told you in the beginning that there's nothing like the curse of Ham. Nothing like that. Ham was never cursed. At least it was never cursed in that Genesis chapter 9, and it was never cursed by his father Noah. Okay, it was never cursed. So who was cursed? It was Canaan. All right, but what is the connection between Canaan and the black people? None. Black people don't come from Canaan. let's go to the history book. Okay, let's go to that story book, to the book of Genesis itself. In Genesis chapter 9, verses 18 to 27, let's read the story of what really happened here. Now, the sons of Noah, you remember this was immediately after the flood, and it was only one family that survived the flood, and that was the family of Noah. So Noah had his own children, and it was only his children, his sons and their wives that survived that flood. And so everybody that populated the earth came from the descendants. Everybody was descendants of Noah. So Africans and Europeans and Asians, all of us were coming from that same root. So all human beings are actually of the same root, right? But according to the Bible, everybody came out from that family. So this family was the only family on the earth at this point. And it is from this family that we got all the other families and all the other tribes and all the other nationalities that we have all over the world. So the black people also came out from there, you could say, if that is the situation. So where is the curse? Who is the curse? Was the black people cursed by their grandfather Noah, or was the black who was cursed? Is that were black people cursed at any time in history? Well, let's go into this. Genesis 9, verses 18 to 27. Now the sons of Noah, these were the remnants, the only living being on the earth at that point, who went out of the ark were Shem. These were the sons of Noah. So there were three of them, right? Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. So these are the three sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. Now pay attention to that verse 18. After mentioning the three sons of Noah, namely Shem, Ham, and Japheth, that verse specifically introduced us to another grandson of Noah's. But Noah had many grandsons. So why was that picked out of the park? Why is it that he was the only one whose name was mentioned out of the grandchildren? Because God wanted to tell us a story. This scripture wanted to tell us the whole story of what happened. So Canaan is one of the sons of Ham. Remember that. Ham is one of the sons of Noah. You remember? Ham, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So Ham is the middle son of Noah. But Ham, just like all other people, like Shem had children, Ham had children, and Japheth had children. But one of the sons of Ham is Canaan. The last son of Ham is Canaan. Just one of his sons. And our attention is being drawn to that fact, or to that man, Canaan. So verse 19 now. These three were the sons of Noah, and from this the whole earth was populated. So that's clear. Verse 20 now. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. That was his business. It was cultivating wine. And verse 21, then he drank of the wine which he was producing. He drank. Who got drunk? That is the grandfather. That is Noah, the hero from the flood. All right, the father of these three sons drank wine and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. That is, he became naked. While he was so drunk, he didn't wear a cloth. Okay, that's verse 21. Verse 22 now. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father. Okay, who saw the nakedness of his father? Not Canaan. You see, it was Ham. Can you now see the reason why most people would think that it was Ham that was cursed? because he was the one who saw the nakedness of his father. And people thought that he was the one that was cursed. But Ham is not the black people. Ham does not stand for black people. Ham is not black. So even if, let's assume that it is Ham that was cursed, that doesn't still mean that it is black people that are cursed. Because Ham is not black. Ham is one of the sons of Noah. But he is not the black man. He is not the one that became Africans. So, but still, you will see in this scripture that he was not even the one that was cursed. So you remember in verse 22, let's read that again. And Ham, the father of Canaan, you see another emphasis on Canaan again. That it is the father of Canaan. So why is we are being referred to Canaan again and again, all over again and again? Because it is Canaan that we are going to be talking about when we talk about curse. So verse 22 again, and Ham, the father of Canaan, Ham is the one who saw the nakedness of his father. He said 22, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness, because they see that as an insult or a disgrace for them to have looked at the wickedness of their father. So instead of them to mock or to laugh at the wickedness of their father, they actually covered him. So, but it was an abomination for Ham to have seen the the nakedness of the father. Not only to have seen it, but to have gone about talking and spreading the news about the nakedness of the father. That is a curse. That is an abomination. Okay, so Ham deserved to be cursed. But was he cursed? Let's go ahead and read the story. So in verse 24 now, so Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. His younger son, that is not younger son, that's the middle son, Ham, what his younger son has done to him. Then he said, cursed. He was supposed to say, you see, cursed be Ham. But notice what he said in verse 25. Then he said, cursed be not Ham, he spared Ham. And said, cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants he shall be to his brethren. So cursed be not Ham, but cursed be Canaan. Why is this? Because if Noah had cursed Ham, it will mean that 1/3 of the whole of humanity will be under a curse. 1/3. That would have been disastrous. God would never allow that to happen. So what he did is that he spared Ham of the curse, and because Ham also had many children under him, and he spared all his other children also from that curse, and picked the last son to bear the burden of the curse. So the least evil is what Noah permitted. All right? Then verse 26, and he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan, not Ham, be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant also. It's only Canaan that is the servant of others, not the black man, not even Ham. Now, how do we, so we got that right. I'm sure all of you got that. Okay, we got it. Not Ham was cursed, but Canaan was cursed. But where is the black man in the picture? Okay, let's go to the note. Let's go to my note here. So now let's look at Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. Let's look at the family, the descendants, or the family tree of Ham. And why God did not allow Ham to be cursed. So in Genesis 10:6, we see the sons of Ham were Cush. Remember that word Cush. Cush means black. Being the descendant, the pro-father or the grandfather, the progenitor of all black races and black people. So Cush is the first son of Ham. And you know Ham was not cursed? Cush was not cursed. Mizraim is the second son of Ham. You remember, if Ham had been cursed, all his race, all his descendants would have been cursed as well. But Mizraim was not cursed. And then he had a third son who was Put. Even Put was not cursed. So who was cursed? Canaan. Could you see the connection? Why God had to promise the children of Israel the land of Canaan as their inheritance. It should be inherited. Why? It is the land of the one that was cursed, which was inherited because they had been displaced. They were under a curse. And for that curse to stop, to be eliminated, God, that's why when the children of Israel were going to conquer the land of Canaan, and when they got there, they cut off and they were killing, and they even got they got a mandate from God to kill a lot of those nations because of the atrocities and the evil that was spread among those nations. So today it will interest you to know that, anyway, maybe I should tell you that later on, what happened to the descendants of Canaan. But before then, you have to find out this. You have to be sure of this fact that Cush was never cursed. This is where black people come from. Not directly from Ham, but from Cush. Black people are descendants of Cush or Ethiopia. Mizraim also are descendants of Cush. They are descendants of Ham. They were not cursed as well. Put were descendants of Ham as well, and they too were not cursed. It was only the last son of Ham that took the responsibility, or that bore the grunt of that curse upon himself. Okay, let's continue now. So Canaan was cursed, not Ham, according to Genesis 9:25. Cursed be Canaan. And you could understand in that chapter where every time the children of Noah are being talked about, they will always bring Canaan to the picture. That Ham is the father of Canaan. But Ham was not cursed, Canaan was cursed. Now let's go back to Genesis 9:25-27. Then he said, that is Noah now who cursed, said, cursed be Canaan, not Ham. So it is never the curse of Ham, it is the curse of Canaan. A servant of servants he shall be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may not Ham be his servant, but may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Not Ham should be his servant, Canaan. You remember, there's nowhere where it's written that Cush should be the servant of Shem, or Cush should be the servant of Japheth. It's never anywhere that Cush is supposed to be the servant. Black men are not supposed to be the servant of anybody. But because we are different, the Europeans who came to Europe and are greedy for money, and who came to Africa and are greedy for money, they needed to find justification because they saw the Africans that they saw in Africa were more primitive than them in the sense of civilization and development at that point, because that was the time of the falling of the black civilization. So they had lost everything they had, and their glory had departed from them because of idolatry. And because of that, it was at that point that the Europeans came and saw them, that they had, they were lagging behind them in civilization, and they took advantage of that. They're black, they look like monkeys and donkeys, because those are black as well. So, and they had to because they were supposed to be Christian nations in Europe, and they had to justify their action, why they will give sanction and allow permission for the sales of human beings, and they have to justify that we are justified for selling them because they have been cursed. But they will not explain properly to their people that no, black people are not really cursed because they are coming from Cush, and they just took it as a thing. I just say, oh, it was Ham. Ham saw the naked dead of the father, he was cursed, and these are black people, so we are justified to have been selling them. And they said they should become our servants. So servants is allowed in the Bible, but it is not Cush that they said should be servant. Look at it here. Look at that scripture. It is not Cush that are supposed to be your servants of Shem or of Japheth. No, it is not even Ham. It is a different nation altogether. It is Canaan that's supposed to be servants. So, but the Europeans turned that around and used it to justify their colonization of black people and of slave trade. But even when nations are cursed, they are not cursed forever like that, unless they keep on committing more sins and more atrocities, like in the case of Canaan, because the sin followed them. But today, a lot of Christians still talk about people being cursed. And they use Exodus 20 verse 5 as a reason why people are cursed. And what does it say in Exodus 20 verse 5? It says, you shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. Okay, so these are idolaters, and this is one of the reasons Africans lost their glory, because they were idolaters. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. Remember, God visits the iniquity of those people, of the people who are idolaters or who are sinners, only to the third and fourth generation. It's not forever. So when people come to you right now and they begin to tell you that, oh, you remember your grandparents were idol worshippers, and from your mother's side or your father's side, they worship idols, okay, it means there is a curse upon you. Chase them away from you. Because even from the Old Testament, it's only to the third and fourth. But right now, you are a Christian. You are worshiping God. They shouldn't even be mentioning curse in relations to you. And they shouldn't even be mentioning the things that happened to your grandparents. Because the Bible has said, if anybody that eats the grape, the grape, that it is the sour of it will be in the mouth of the person that eats it. It will not be in the mouth of the children anymore. So that is no more. If the father sinned, it is the father that will bear the sin, not the children. The Bible has even said that in Jeremiah and Ezekiel. So it is no more. There is no more a justification for this deliverance and generational curse that people are talking about. Because if you say, because it is only, okay, I'm a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. But do you hate him? Let's even say your grandparents hated him. But do you hate him? You are no more hating him, you are loving him now. So since you love him now, it means that doesn't even affect you, even if you are going to be doing the Old Testament. But even that same Old Testament says it is the soul that sins that bears the consequences. That you don't, bear the consequence of the sin of your parents anymore. But besides that, Jesus had now died and has taken the curse upon himself. The curse for everybody's sin, and the curse that is supposed to be on the whole world, he has taken it upon himself by allowing himself to be hanged on the tree, because curse is everyone that is hanged on the tree. So to be, propagating and using the narrative of the curse of Ham or any other curse or idolatry to be, victimizing people, telling them they need deliverance or they need to be set free from one curse or the other is exploitation. And it's dehumanizing. It is dehumanization of man. Don't let people use religion to destroy you and to exploit you and to captivate you and make you into a victim. Now let's continue with this teaching here. Now, so where are the nations? What are the nations? What is the list of nations, of all nations that came out of Ham? Because if Ham had been cursed, 1/3 of the whole world would have been cursed. But even during the Bible days, let's see the list of nations that came out from Ham that were not cursed also. So the nations descending from Ham, first on the list as being the darkest is Cush. So Africans or Ethiopians, they used to call Africans Ethiopia, the whole of black people Ethiopia. Ethiopia, Cush means black, according to Genesis 10:6. After which comes Misraim. Misraim is the same as Egypt. Then Put or Libya, and Canaan is the last one. So where is Canaan today? Okay, let's keep on going. 4 sons of Ham are Mizraim, which is Egypt today, Cush, which is Sudan or black people, Ethiopia, and black race. Okay. Then number 3, Put, which is Libya, that Mediterranean area. Then number 4 is the last one that was cursed. And these are all those nations that came out of Canaan. And those nations that came out of Canaan, you will see them in the Old Testament, especially in connection to the children of Israel. Because the children of Israel were going to their land, and in the process of getting to that land, they were meeting all these descendants of Canaan, and they were fighting with them, and they had to be killing a lot of them. And as a result of those fights, all those ancient nations, all those Havites, they are no more. They don't have descendants today. Jebusites, Avadites, Girgashites, Amorites, Akites, Shenites, Hittites, Sidonians, Perizzites, Zemorites, all of them have vanished today. So the curse actually consumed all these people. So we shouldn't be looking for anybody that is carrying the curse today. Nobody is under a curse in our generation today. Canaan does not exist as a nation anymore. Other 3 nations that came out of Cush are still alive today. That came out of Ham are still alive today. And these other major 3 nations or 3 races are Egyptian race, Ethiopian race or black race, and Libya, Mediterranean, like Arab race. It's like people like colored race, mixed race. So this is the story here. And please, don't you ever believe the narrative of you being cursed as a black person. Black people are never cursed. And I'm going to continue to talk about this in the next program. I'm going to tell you more about the descendants of Ham and the connection between Ham and Abraham. And, just going to tell you more elaborate narration about this. Gato video. But right now, let's go ahead and see a video that will also confirm to us that, no, black people are not cursed. Cush are not cursed. But before then, let me make a few announcements. First of all, I want you to go and share this video. Please share. Go and share the video with your friends and family members. And if you have not yet joined the mentorship program that I do for free on the internet, please go to sonadelajablog.com/mentorship. If you want to attend one of the trainings that I do called History Makers Training, please go to sonadelajablog.com as well. Just put /HMT. For the mentorship, it is /mentorship. But for training, it is /HMT, History Makers Training. But if you want to read my books, you can read them for free on Kindle Unlimited, or you could just buy them on Amazon. Or if you want to buy them in bulk, you could write to my office by writing to dssbooks@gmail.com, and you will be able to buy them cheaper than on Amazon. So if you want to go with us to Africa, just go to sonadelajablog.com as well /Nigeria. So that's it for today. Let's go ahead and see this video that will give us some more enlightenment about this topic. Blessings.
I'm going to be doing a video about the myth of the curse of Ham. So to jump right into it without wasting time, the slide you see right now describes what exactly supposedly this curse of Ham is supposed to be according to Wikipedia. It's important to note, just because it's found on Wikipedia in this way doesn't mean that this is the exact truth of what the matter is, but I think this gives a short definition of what I'm going to be discussing today. So what you see listed here is what I set out to prove in this video. You can follow these three things, and if you keep these as a note, they'll understand where I'm coming from. So the next thing is, okay, well, in order for me to prove my particular points about this whole thing, there's several things that have to be true. What I basically mean by this is, in order for Judaism to hold the view that there is such a thing as a curse of Ham, these three things have to be truth, if you will. If any one of these three things is found missing, then we know that according to the Torah, it's something that has to be thrown out. It is not considered truth. So the basic heart of this issue is two things. Something that's halakha, which is in Judaism is considered binding, based laws and ethics, versus something that is agadah, legends, fables, something that's not binding in any way for you to believe or agree to or hold by. Now, in order to prove my point, there will be several baselines that I'll be using to, rest my case upon. The first one being that there is a requirement according to the Torah itself, the 5 books of Moses, that a Jew live by what's called justice, or tzedek. Tzedek can sometimes be translated as truth. So there's a requirement from the Torah that all Jews live by truth. Now, what you're seeing now are further baselines that are being presented to back up this idea that the whole point of the Torah is to have truth, and not only have truth, but truth that can be identified by a correct source, if you will, or a correct way of thinking. Now, baseline theory is extremely important in dealing with the idea of what the Torah commands, and that is truth. So this pretty much proves the point, and this is a point made by the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, several hundred years ago, about the issue that the Torah's purpose is against falsehood. So when dealing with this issue, these three baselines will be the determining factor of what we accept as truth. The fact that the Torah itself is true, and anything around it, any beliefs about it, any understandings or commentaries on it, have to meet that standard, or else they have to be thrown out or known to be unacceptable in terms of truth. Now, it's important to note that if one goes through the written Torah, one will find no mention of a curse of Ham. Going through the text, in short, basically Noach gets drunk. Supposedly his son Ham sees something. It's never explained exactly what it means. And then from there, Noach wakes up after being drunk and then says, curse on Canaan, who was the son of Ham. Further, there is no sign that this was some divinely mandated curse to begin with. So one can easily conclude from what's written that Noach woke up after being drunk and just started shooting off of the lip. But yet an even bigger issue is, prior to this event happening, we see from the text itself that the Creator had given a blessing to each of Noach's sons, including Noach himself. So the question is, can a man curse something that the Creator himself has blessed? Also, if something had taken place, as some claim, before this point in the ark, why is there mention of it here in this critical point in the text? Moving into the Agadah part, i.e. the legends, fables, and tales and things like that, we start to see something interesting here, because we look at this part from the Pirkei Rebbe Eliezer, and it seems to mention that there is no curse in terms of being black, if you will. That actually, it says that Shem was blessed with being black and handsome, Ham was blessed with being black like the raven, and Yafet was blessed with being white and beautiful, which seems to say that every single person on the planet has a blessing wherever they are, as they are. Point that all of this seems to make, because once again we're talking about agadah, legends, folk tales, things that don't have any legal binding or even philosophical bindingness to them, is to basically say that all of humanity has intrinsic goodness and good qualities and traits that the Creator put into them, and not just one people as being like the top of the heap, if you will, in terms of humanity. So this brings us to the topic of what is truth and what is reality. According to Judaism, which is shown here by the Rambam, once again Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, is that there is an issue of, there's an admission that there are times where during speculative matters that the sages of Israel, the wise men of Israel, even rabbis, what you would call wise men, can be wrong. They can have mistakes in the logic that they have in speculative matters. And this, once again, as the Rambam shows here, as you see underlined, deals with what is established as proof, something that they have accepted as proof in a speculative manner, can easily be wrong, and the nations of the world can be right about something in this area. So this is an important thing to take with us when we start really looking at these areas of if this curse of Ham actually exists, and if it supposedly is believed to exist, in what way did people believe it? If, like I said before, it has to be a uniform thing for it to be a Jewish thing, if you will. And so now I will list some of the problems with the myth of the curse of Ham. The next few slides comes from a blog by Manish Dana. He did a really good piece on this, and I would like to kind of further what he spoke about. So what you see here listed are several of the main problems with this idea that there's a curse of Ham, or even of his descendants, and a lot of it deals with what I mentioned before about the fact that it's a speculative matter. The mention in Sanhedrin 108b is a good example of this, where supposedly it mentions that Ham was smitten in his skin, but doesn't say what that means. This, of course, is an agadah with no proof whatsoever found in the written Torah to such an event ever taking place. It is only later commentators and speculators who claim that this must mean something in terms of skin color, when, as you can see, it doesn't mention anything about skin color. Further on the Manish Dana blog, he brings up one of the points I mentioned earlier about the issue of blackness. We saw speculative, if you will, agadah earlier that mentioned that blackness was blessed to both Shem and also to Ham. So if both of them had like black skin or blackened skin, then how can there be a curse on black skin? Which also brings up the question of, how is black skin a curse to begin with? What exactly makes it a curse? There's no explanation of this in any of the agadah on this matter. When we start dealing with exactly where the regions that supposedly Shem and Ham occupied in terms of their expansion, we see that their descendants occupied some areas that were pretty close together, if you think about it, in terms of location. So you would have had intermarriages between these groups. So once again, if such a curse existed, how can you maintain it past like 1 or 2 generations? There is now another mention in the Talmud Yerushalayim that takes a different spin on this whole supposedly story that Ham did something wrong in the ark. This one says he was mefucham, he was darkened, if you will, but it doesn't say what was darkened. Maybe it was his personality, maybe it was his character, because once again, it is only later commentators that claim that this is connected to the previous one I mentioned. Yet against this position, you see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a fragment that actually mentions that Noach's curse was ineffective because of the fact that man can't curse what the creator of all reality blesses. Okay, so once again, we see something here now that goes against like some of the previous opinions in favor of there not being any curse at all, if you will. As well as the fact that if there was really a curse that had been understood by Jews from early on, why were ancient Israelis marrying the descendants of Ham, left and right? So now let's go back to my previous point, that you don't see a clear and unquestionable statement from the Torah that there's such a thing as a curse. You don't see full agreement or any statement from commentators, and you don't see any ancient or modern proof of the reality of this interpretation. The biggest knockout punch of this whole curse of Ham thing is basically that most Africans have never even been enslaved, which, according to the curse of Ham, every single African should have been enslaved. But, once again, didn't happen, doesn't happen. Another knockout punch to this issue is something I presented in one of my previous videos, that race, as people understand it nowadays, is completely unscientific and completely almost a nonsensical idea, if you will. So to apply a modern concept that isn't even correct to an ancient text is just incorrect, completely incorrect. I hold by the view that, for example, any of the sages could have been wrong about a number of things, and what they're right about, and what they're wrong about. But on this issue, there's none of them saying specific things. It's all over the place in some cases. There's certain midrashim that are specific, but they're just all over the place in terms of their interpretation. Further on this matter, I think that the Rambam in this particular letter to on astrology mentions and sums up basically, I guess, the way I look at all of these things, that a person has to use their reason, they have to use their wisdom, you have to use something that the Creator, according to Judaism, gave to all humanity, and that's their reason. Because as the Rambam states, there are people who, even the sages, who had things hidden from them because of the time frame they lived in. Just because they wrote something or said something that, doesn't have any proof behind it, doesn't mean we accept it. In Judaism, you accept only that which is truth, as I showed before. Further, there were sages who wrote things that weren't supposed to be understood in a straightforward manner, for example. That's one of the things I say, that you have to look at terminology. The words that they used was very specific in some areas, and they didn't add words that are getting added later on because of later commentaries, either Jewish or non-Jewish. Further, there are even areas in the Torah that were never meant to be understood literally, but had other meanings to them, or things that need to be investigated through other sources, and the controllers of this information are Jews. We as Jews are the ones who properly understand the Torah, because we're the ones who've had it passed down to us, and we're the ones who received it in the original language, Ivrit, or Hebrew, that it was actually given in. Further, as I've shown in this video, truth is the matter that the Torah commands all Jews to explore and to live their lives based upon. So with that, I've shown that this myth of the Curse of Ham is all Agadah and has no truth behind it, and thus is also not binding upon Jewish thought.